Welcome back. Let's catch you up on a few stories that should be on your radar today. It is time for Rapid Fire. Here to break down the headlines are Seema Mody, Bill Griffith, and Kate Rogers. Welcome, everyone. And first up is the Piper Jaffray Teen Survey, so we can figure out what Gen Z wants, because, guys, no one cares about the millennials anymore, and I love it.
Or the boomers.
Or the boomers.
Hello.
No, but the boomers, you got... Anyway.
You haven't cared about us for a long time.
You're hugely important.
We care about you.
Oh,
we do, Bill.
Actually, I love this survey. I look forward to it every year. It's really, really interesting stuff.
So a couple of things to pull out for you. In shoes and apparel, check out Under Armour. They finally cracked the top 10 in preferred footwear among teens, which was their highest ranking to date. But here's the bad news. When asked what brands they no longer wear, Under Armour came in #1 by its highest proportion yet. Not a great sign for the company. I believe 21% of teens say they are no longer wearing it as of this fall's survey. Now, another brand cracking the top 10 in footwear was Crocs, which jumped up to #7 from 13 last year. I asked the group why. Here's what they tell me. Gaining in popularity because of celeb collaborations like this one. It's a set of Crocs designed by the rapper Post Malone. Now, the share price performance, that's what this all comes down to, tells you the story here. Crocs is up 50% over the past year, way outdistancing the likes of Under Armour and Nike.
And it shows you that footwear spending, despite broader teen spending on the decline because they're concerned about the economy. As Courtney Reagan points out in her story, her analysis of this survey, footwear spending on average $300 a year for teens, and it's about $60 higher for males over women. But I think, as you point out, a lot of these brands are able to reinvent what they're trying to how they're trying to resonate with a younger audience, whether it's Crocs or even Birkenstock, which is coming back.
Yeah, I tried some Birkenstocks. I still didn't like them. But essentially, you save $300 on footwear, because I actually want to flip ahead to talk about another one here, also from the Piper Teen Survey, which is spending on handbags and beauty products, and that has plummeted.
Right.
So according to the survey, teens are spending only $90 a year now on average on handbags. That's down from $197 back in 2006. That is a 50% decline, and cosmetic spending is at a 19-year low. Now, we know what's happened to Ulta stock lately, like huge turnaround there. We've talked about some of the woes for Tapestry, Capri, which owns some of these brands, but really interesting change in the guys, especially shelling out the guys are for footwear and not so much these other categories.
I found that to be especially interesting because this generation cares so much about Instagram and the generation of selfies, all of these influencers, so many of them tied to beauty, in particular Kylie Jenner. So I couldn't really quite, understand why the beauty spending was down. I did think it was interesting, too, that Sephora has fallen off. Ulta's still the #1 cosmetic store for all of these teens, but they're not having, I guess, as good of an experience at Sephora. And if you go into Sephora, I still will spend a lot of money there, but it's jam-packed. It seems a little less organized. You can kind of understand why.
Fortnite is starting to fade as a favored video game. These free collaborative games like Fortnite is, but video game as a category is still very solid. So they've moved on to something else. They didn't say what it was, but I found that interesting.
Yeah, any other gleanings here?
Casual fashions are growing, and we've seen that even in our own,
you mean like sweatpants?
Newsroom here. Well,
you mean like dressing casual at work?
Jeans as well. That was ranked high. And Nike consistently ranking high amongst teens, despite, again, spending on the decline. This is still a brand that they favor. And you look at the stock price, it's done incredibly well, up 25% this year compared to an Under Armour, which is only up about 5%. And then a Lululemon athleisure, talk about a stock that's really been on fire, up 60% in 2019.
And Chick-fil-A.
I was going to say, non-publicly traded company. Food spending, #1 category for these teens, of course, makes sense.
And Chick-fil-A is still pinned at #1.
Is always #1. Yeah. Starbucks is #2. Among middle-income teens, Olive Garden actually made a reappearance, which is interesting because they're kind of to blame, these teens, for the death of casual dining, right? When I was in high school, we went to Chili's on a Friday night. These kids don't do that anymore.
We went to Applebee's.
That's right, but now it's a different experience, different generation. But Olive Garden did make a move into the survey.
Bob's Big Boy.
What's Bob's Big Boy?
Anyone?
Bill,
tell us more.
Sounds great.
Never mind.
Sticking with the food theme.
Old people in California are nodding their head right now. Yes.
Also loving it right now is Domino's. Check out the stock today, a huge turnaround. It was down more than 6% this morning after missing on earnings and lowering its long-term sales outlook. But then CEO Rich Allison came to the rescue on the conference call, saying there's a significant shakeout coming to the industry that will allow Domino's an opportunity to grab market share from rivals. And he's talking about the DoorDashes, about the Uber Eats of the world. He thinks that business is fundamentally unsustainable. Domino's stock is now up 5%.
Yeah, so that turned around on the conference call. Rich, very authoritative on the call. He said this is a proactive decision to change the guidance, not reactive. 2 to 3 years makes more sense for investors. They think it's a better measure than a 3 to 5 year outlook because of all of this uncertainty and because of, the pressure from these aggregators. His message, my takeaway from it was we're not sure who's going to be here in 3 to 5 years in terms of all these aggregators. We're playing the long game at Domino's. We are on the offensive, not the defensive here, and we will be here at the end.
They
of the
lowered
shakeout.
their domestic outlook and their international outlook, and it's one of those brands that it is in 85 countries, and they have over 10,000 stores outside the U.S. Do you have a sense, given that you cover this company, Kate, that Domino's grew too fast internationally?
Well, so it's not just international. I mean, U.S. is growing quickly as well. That's part of their strategy. We talk about it all the time. It's fortressing. It's opening up more of these locations closer to one another to get you your pizza faster. They do work with some of those aggregators via master franchisees outside of the U.S., but in the U.S., they're not partnering with the DoorDashes, the Postmates, et cetera. But
they've got their own drivers.
Yeah, and analysts say this may pressure same-store sales in the short term. In the long term, it'll be good for business, and that's what Rich was saying.
What's the allure of Domino's to begin with?
It's cheap.
No, you and I,
you have to ask.
Seema and I were talking about it before the show.
All right. I cover all these companies.
Is the pizza that good?
Food.
Is the pizza that good?
Let me tell you,
I enjoy Domino's.
Or is
college,
this just about cost? The price point is a lot lower than most pizza makers. And the convenience, the fact that they were, delivering anywhere and at any time.
That's right. They have the hot spots. You can track the pizza. I think people really enjoy that feature. One more thing, though, that's interesting from the conference call. And yes, Bill, I do think the pizza's good. I also think Papa John's is good. I also think Pizza Hut is good.
Well,
all pizza
is good.
That's your beat.
Good for me.
That's fine.
Rich also spoke a lot about the opportunity that carryout presents. There's so much focus on delivery. They're reimaging their stores. They have these kiosks in stores, and they want to continue to expand on the carryout part of the business. They think it presents a big opportunity. I think investors reacted well to that because it reminded them delivery is not the only game in town.
Yeah, I just think it's fascinating if he's right. And we've seen other companies obviously be subsidized by their private backers, come to market, not be able to make a go of it. You have a business like Domino's that could, I'm not saying to go out of business, but if the threat is there enough for long enough, it's a real headwind for them. I'm glad he thinks they can just wait it out and they're going to win and these aggregators are going to lose. But there's a lot of people on the other side of that bet, which I find super interesting. Papa John's also having a good year, by the way, up 31%.
Yeah.
New CEO.
And the CEO is going to be with Jim Cramer tonight. Domino's CEO Rich Allison on Mad Money, 6 p.m. Eastern time, so he can expound even more on all of that. We look forward to hearing from him again. Now, topic 4, finally today, and one that might blow your mind if you haven't seen this yet. Scotch maker, the Glenlivet, is out with a new way to get your whiskey. Take a look.
The Glenlivet has released an original whiskey drinking experience. A collection of edible cocktail capsules made from seaweed, meaning no need for a glass to enjoy them. Pop the capsule in your mouth and take a bite to release the delicious cocktail ingredients.
I really thought this was a joke when I first saw it. By the way, the capsules are made of seaweed. They're drawing some unflattering comparisons to Tide Pods, naturally, but Bill.
The connoisseur of the group. Scotch
I am so disappointed in Glenlivet. They should know better. This commercial where it says you don't need the glass or the ice or the cocktail stirrer. There is a romance and a tradition and a ritual around enjoying a fine cocktail, and it includes all of those things. What they're talking about is how astronauts drink. I mean, what the heck is all of that about?
Students,
and then
it's obliteration culture.
They even have to say the word seaweed. I mean, is that going to get me to try one of these things?
Well, they have to make sure it's eco-friendly, so they emphasize here for the youths that it's made of seaweed and that the seaweed capsules biodegrade in 4 to 6 weeks, which is faster than a fruit peel. I was silly enough to think that people were eating the pods. So I'm just confused by the whole thing.
It's biodegradable, I believe. So you just pop it into your mouth and then...
But you take then the casing out?
No, I think it's supposed to just
Doesn't
melt.
It melt?
Yeah, in your
So
mouth.
it's like those Listerine strips, which are also kind of gross.
There really should have been
great idea.
By the way, this makes it more attractive, I think, to younger drinkers.
Absolutely.
but I'm talking about really younger drinkers. This is like those flavored
like candy.
Vaping things, you know.
Well, you think as a younger consumer, you typically don't drink whiskey. It's tequila, it's beer.
Yeah, but these are cocktails.
And then over time,
this isn't just pure scotch. These are flavored cocktails. And they look awfully attractive there in those different colors.
Like many other things that when I first saw like the Amazon Echo Dot and thought, what the heck is this? Now I'm convinced these are going to be ubiquitous. These liquid pods for all, but if they can figure out how to carbonate them, yeah, then I'll be all over it.
I'm going to buy them. We're
Party
doing
at
it.
Bill's house, right? You're buying?
Pizza and
this is the real side of the apocalypse.
Come for the drinks, stay for the pods.
Thank you all. Seema Mody, Bill Griffith, and Kate Rogers.